Certainly a tough one for your team. You go wire to wire with an FBS team in Ball State and come up just a little short on that final drive, 34-29. How did you feel like your guys performed?
No, we played hard, played extremely hard, and flew around. Obviously, anytime you get in a game like that, you're outmatched physically at almost every single position. So, I thought that they stayed with it. I thought we made really good in-game adjustments. At halftime, and ultimately played pretty well in the second half. But too many self-inflicted wounds. We had two drop touchdowns, two missed field goals. Defensively in the first half, we didn't tackle well enough, and I think we gave up 150 yards and three runs that were all explosives for touchdowns. So the great thing is we showed a bunch of resilience. Got down 14 points at one point there in the in second half, and then we came all the way back. So, gave us a chance to win it at the end. Definitely some guys stepped up in big manners. I thought Matt Vezza had his best game of his early college career, which was great to see. And I think we bounced back in a big way. We blocked a punt for a touchdown, which was huge for us. So, we started fast, had some momentum, lost it, and then ultimately couldn't close them out there at the end.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about Matt Vezza. You touched on 259 yards and a touchdown through the air, runs for team high 78, and a touchdown. How have you seen him really grow here over this last 3 week stretch?
Yeah, I think this is the first game we felt really comfortable getting through progressions, getting the ball out of his hand. He was really efficient back there. I thought their pass rush was really elite all day. We did take 4 sacks and he got hit numerous other times, but he was courageous. He stood in there, delivered under duress, through two or three really nice deep balls with touch and accuracy. And his where he's special is his ability to improvise, get off his spot. We had a big, third and 14 backed up in our end zone, where he scrambled for 15, leaped over two or three guys to get some momentum in the second half, and we got some points out of that drive. So, he's continued to impress us.
We're here with UNH head coach Rick Santos. If you have a question for him this morning, just use the chat feature or the raise your hand icon. Um, Rick, among his targets, Caleb Burke with 7 catches for 89. Also, Chase Wilson, 7 for 84, 13-yard touchdown catch, a grad transfer from Wesleyan. What has he brought to your team?
He's awesome, really cerebral, great teammate. He's a phenomenal practice player, so there's no shock to us that it's starting to show up in the game. He won one of those explosives that I mentioned, just one-on-one straight go ball to the boundary, elite release, stacked him, was able to get 20 or 30 yards there. And I
Hello.
think the great thing
I
about
think
him
this is
is,
a win.
you
Yeah,
know,
well, like I got an
Excuse
email this morning
me.
from the.
Excuse me. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
you're good. The great thing about his is, him, he understands how to find soft spots in the zone, and he can catch and knife and get vertical. And, we felt like it was going to be a game where we are going to have to tack the edges a little bit. We were outmatched inside, so a lot of quick RPO, quick game early in that. But he allowed us to be really efficient in that and his ability to catch and knife and get vertical and take some pretty vicious hits. So I was proud of him and how he played.
One more on the offense, and some of it was the explosives on the defense. But you guys controlled that ball for 38 minutes. If I had told you that last Monday, you would have felt pretty good. What were you able to do so effectively to do that?
Yeah, the two things that we felt like were going to give us a great opportunity to win was win the time possession battle and win the turnover battle. We were able to do both of those things, at an elite level. Ultimately just didn't finish well enough offensively in the red zone. But I think, again, those guys taken to the coaching, I think it was a really elite game plan offensively by Coach Board and the offensive staff. I thought the guys executed at a high level, minus two or three plays that we wanted back out there. So just really proud with the way the guys prepared all week, trusting in, what we're asking them to do and able to execute it.
Question for you from Roger Brown. Good morning, Roger.
Good morning, Rob. Hi, Rick.
How you doing, Roger?
Good. Um, a couple comments on looking ahead to Dartmouth, if you could. And, I guess it's probably a little frustrating for you preparing for them since they haven't played. Do you just look at last year's film, or do you spend more time with your team this week?
After 3 games, a lot of self-scout, trying to reflect on who we are, what we do well, what we don't do well, things for us to continue to improve as the season goes along. Those are some things that we're taking a hard look at. And then, yeah, just trying to figure out who they're going to be. I think, the good thing for the, defensively, defensive minded head coach and Coach McCorkle, their defensive coordinator, has been there for a long time and I think called plays for the last decade. So we have a decent beat on what they're going to be defensively. Offensively, we're trying to figure them out a little bit. New offensive coordinator, a guy that's well traveled, has done a phenomenal job in every single stop that he's been. So yeah, we're trying to figure out who they're going to be. Obviously, you don't know their personnel this year. That's one thing you wish you had one or two games under your belt. But they're an elite football team. They've won at least outright or share of I think 6 out of the last 8 Ivy League championships. So it's a culture built on toughness. They tackle extremely well defensively. They've always had elite offensive and defensive lines, and obviously there's no love lost between the two schools. So we have to have our guys ready to go.
Okay, thank you.
Rick, we talked a little bit last week. It was not on a punt; it was on a field goal. But your ability to block kicks, and you got a big one on Saturday right out of the gate from DJ Johnson that Brendan Tighe returns for the touchdown. Was that something that, again, your special teams guys saw during the week you thought you could get, or just a great individual play?
Yeah, I think it's just, elite job by Nick Delagiacono dialing that one up. We went back their special teams coordinator. He was an analyst at UConn, so we were watching UConn tape for the last couple of years, trying to figure out exactly how they were going to attack us. We got a beat on their protection scheme, and the guys executed in the moment. I thought it was a really, really great job by DJ, kind of avoiding the shield, getting skinny, and knocking that one down. I was so happy for Brendan to come back and coming off that ACL, and he's our emotional leader and hasn't, we haven't been able to get him in the game as much as we'd like through the first couple of weeks. So for him to have that moment, first collegiate touchdown to generate a ton of momentum early, that was awesome for him.
Defensively, another good game from your freshman Trevor Berry with 8 tackles, but also got a good effort from Jordan McAllister. A couple tackles for loss and a sack in there. How did you? Or who are some guys that impressed you defensively on Saturday?
Yeah, I thought Jordan was definitely someone I would highlight. He wreaked havoc. Lived in the backfield all day. I think that was, as tough of a cover from a QB standpoint that we're probably going to face all year. I mean, he was dynamic. I think he was a preseason all-conference corner a year ago. So it just shows you the type of athlete, that he was. And ultimately, he was the difference maker. We couldn't get bottled up. And I think they were 7 for 10 on third down. But Jordan did a really nice job when he had opportunities to go make some plays. And DJ Johnson as well. Obviously, he had the block punt, but I thought he had probably his most complete game from a defensive end perspective.
You talked a little bit about playing a Dartmouth team that's going to be playing their first game with Roger. But as you guys have got the experience of 3 games under your belt, got all those butterflies out. They're going to be playing the first time. Is it? Do you feel better about it in your situation, or do you feel like they've got an advantage of the fact that you haven't been able to see them play at all?
I think there's pros and cons to both sides of it, right? I think they have the advantage in terms of we don't know their personnel. We're not sure what type of new wrinkles and innovative stuff that they brought into the offseason. And then we have the advantage in terms of our guys have played games. The moment won't be too big. We've obviously playing in an FBS stadium last week. I think it gave us a lot of confidence and ultimately how we played that game. I know we didn't finish, but we left there feeling like we're a really good football team. But as anything, it's all about 1 week at a time, in this great sport. And we got to strap it up and be ready to go for a physical contest. We know how good these guys are.
And you mentioned no love lost between you guys and Dartmouth. What makes this rivalry kind of unique and so good?
Yeah, I just think it's our conference versus theirs, and in state, obviously the state school kids versus the Ivy League guys, and I just think being a part of it as a player, student athlete, and assistant coach, and now the third time as the head coach, I just think it's just a fun rivalry. I say that I have all the utmost respect for them and how they play. From when Bunny Tevens was there and how he ran his program. I just think they do it with class, they do it with integrity, they play extremely hard, they do it the right way, and we know that we have to play our A game to beat these guys.
All right, Rick. Good luck on Saturday against Dartmouth, and I look forward to talking again next week.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Once again.